Frame rate issues. You were the bane of Rare's existence back in the day. Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Donkey Kong 64. In this episode, we're going to be going through more Frantic Factory, just like we did in the last episode. In this episode, we're going to be taking Diddy out for a spin. You can see that we've gotten up here into the main part of the factory, and there's actually a lot of stuff we need to do here. You can see there's supposed to be a banana barrel up there, but I haven't hit the switch down at the bottom yet. I just wanted to make sure to collect those bananas. Donkey's blueprint is actually over here. So, yeah, we're just going to go back down to the bottom, and we got to hit that switch to make the banana barrel here. And I also have some more bananas to collect with Diddy here on the bottom of the ground floor anyway. So, yeah. Anyway, in the last episode, I got off into a bit of a rant about games today and everything. It's mostly, you know, I'm sorry if I made anybody mad about, you know, not enjoying games today or anything like that. Don't think that. I do enjoy new games. Like I said, I really enjoy playing Left 4 Dead 2. I also am really enjoying Halo Reach the more I play it. Just the campaign, I love it. You know, I guess the thing is that I'm not a big fan of first-person shooters, and that seems to be this kind of game that gets worked on the most nowadays, more than any other game, is first-person shooters. And you know, that kind of makes me sad, but at the same time, I guess I can accept it, because back in the N64 era, around the time that this game was made, it was platformers that everybody was making. Every company that was making games had their own flagship platformers. For Nintendo, it was Mario. For Sega, it was the Sonic games. For Sony, it was Naughty Dog's, you know, their Crash Bandicoot games. Then you have, obviously Microsoft wasn't making that many games at the time. Rare had Donkey Kong that they could basically, you know, dictate their own price to for a system, but I think at this point they were pretty locked into a contract with Nintendo. So there were other platformers, games that, you know, they've been platformers around since the Super Nintendo era, but at the same time, there really wasn't a time, almost a ghetto of 3D platformers until the N64's life, in which case, you know, there really isn't any excuse as to why there are so many platformers, you know, and so many that just aren't good. You know, there are other games, like I played some of the games already on my channel that were not good, even though they were made around the same time as this one. Nope, I missed. And even from falling all that way, I still only take a $250,000 of damage. But, yeah, games like Blues Brothers 2000, Chameleon Twist, they were just basically their only reason for existing with the fact that they're platforming in 3D. And they would assume that, everybody who had an N64 would just buy all of the platforming games in 3D that they could find. And to some degree or another, they were right. But games, I hate to admit it, but it was games like Donkey Kong 64, with its long and involved collectathon process, that really started to kill off the platformer genre. As we know it today. I mean, there are still platforming games being made today. Obviously, some of the best platformers ever are being made today. Like, Mario Galaxy. That was phenomenal. But, at the same time, there aren't nearly as many. It's really a measure of quantity versus quality. Oops. Come on, make it. Oh, no. But yeah, it's interesting to see the history of games and how different games have fared in different times. It's like, for a while, in the Super Nintendo era, there were two kinds of games that you could get. Platformers, like super hard platformers, 2D ones, or RPGs. I mean, look at the Mario games for the Super Nintendo. What do you have? You have Mario Worlds and Yoshi's Island, which are 2D side-scrolling platformers, some of the best platformers ever made. And then you have Super Mario RPG, which is you know, beloved by fans all over the world as probably as a great RPG and a great Mario game that deserves more love. Okay, let me take this slow. That's because, you know, Nintendo saw that those were the cash cow games. Now it's like the cash cow games are either shooters or like quote-unquote family-friendly games. Like, let me think, what was I thinking of? Exercise games. Games like Wii Fit and, you know, Connectimals. Those are games... I don't understand it. If a family likes a game, they'll buy it. But if you can't just keep pandering to them by coming out with these stupid little cutesy games. You know, when I was a kid, I wasn't buying a game for kids. I was buying games like this. I was buying games like Mario 64 and Gex. I was buying games that, you know, they're not necessarily made for kids, but kids can play them. Kids will learn how to play them as they go. You don't make simple little cutesy kids games specifically designed for kids and expect to make that much of a profit. At least you didn't used to. You do now, because parents are buying their kids everything. And if they think this game's right for their kids, they're going to buy it for them whether the kids want it or not. Okay, so we just got one more banana to get up there. That's Diddy's. Yeah, this upper area of the factory is actually some of the hardest bits of platforming in this level. So I wanted to get it all done as close to each other as possible. That's why I met you guys right back here after the last episode. Because I don't want to have to come back up here that much. And, you know, if I can get it all done now, then I don't have to worry about it later. And like I said, it is some of the hardest bits of platforming in this level. Not necessarily in this game, but definitely in this level. Mostly because of the bad camera angles. Because this is such a narrow... Whoop! Jump, Diddy! Because this is such a narrow area to try to run around in, you know, look at it. We're basically inside of a gigantic cylinder. The camera angles here leave a lot to be desired. That's one thing that a lot of games... That's... You know, a lot of games' bane in the N64 era were the camera system. The first game to really have a free camera system that I can recall playing was Mario 64. And games like this, and, you know, Banjo-Kazooie and things like that, you know, they all kind of copy that camera system. They make it subtle improvements, they make it better, they give you the snap to behind your character by pressing R adjustment, things like that. The games today, it seems like they're going back to fixed camera angles, like obviously first-person shooters can only really have one camera angle. Or they're going to cameras that are more scripted, that kind of follow you as you go. I've seen a couple of games that that's not true of, like Uncharted. You know, occasionally it has a scripted camera angle where it'll just kind of move to where it's supposed to be, darn it. It'll kind of move where it's supposed to be for you to make a certain jump or whatever, but for the most part, it looks to me like that game is almost like a successor to games like this. Obviously, it's more adult. There's obviously you kill a lot of people in it with, you know, using your guns and everything like that. That's half of what it is, a third-person shooter. But at the same time, it's also a platformer. Not necessarily jumping, but climbing. Which I think is really cool, you know? It makes sense considering that Naughty Dog was the guys who made Crash Bandicoot back in the day. And now they're making those games for Sony. So, you know, they went from one flagship franchise for Sony in one era to another one in another era. And I just love the fact that they're not first-person shooters. It would be really easy to take a game like Uncharted and turn it into a generic first-person shooter. You know, albeit one with great art direction, but it would be terrifyingly easy to be able to do that. So there's Diddy's first golden banana here. We're up to 50 total now, and I can finally get down from here. And let me see, there's one more thing I wanted to do. Oh yeah, let me just use Banana Port 4 really quick, and we'll switch to DK. go into that entrance area that we opened up. Remember when we pulled that lever with DK in the last episode? This area right here behind us opened up. Get out of here. Go ahead and go in there now. It's actually a Strong Kong area. You wouldn't think of it. You know, you'd have to come in here once, but it is a Strong Kong area. Obviously, we've got crushers. We've got fireballs. There are some bananas and stuff in here for Lanky as well. Obviously, but he can't get in here, so you kind of have to stand in the entrance and just shoot them. Alright, so actually, come to think of it, that's all 4 golden bananas for Donkey Kong, as well as his blueprint. So that means Donkey Kong's already done in this level. We also have all 100 bananas for him, so yeah, he's done. Pretty cool, huh? And here, I was thinking I wasn't going to make much progress in these videos. Yeah, this game, it is a bit of a collectathon. But it's an enjoyable collectathon, I think. The level design is good enough that it doesn't really get tedious. And, let's go on, head on over here. I don't even know where I'm going at this point. I get all turned around in this place. But, yeah, like I said, the level design is good enough that it doesn't really get tedious, even if you have to backtrack over the same levels several times. There are some parts of the game where it can get a little frustrating, especially if you have to keep playing them over and over. The bonus barrels, I wish they had left them out of the game. They just feel like padding to me. I mean, they're fun little mini games, but they also feel like padding, especially when you get towards the final level and you have to face the really, really hard ones. You know, that have scaled up in difficulty as the whole game's gone on. Those are just aggravating. They eat at your soul. They're so hard. They just feel like an artificial gameplay lengthener. That's what they call them today. But, go ahead and get Lanky out so we can collect some of this stuff here. Yeah, this game, it doesn't really get boring, even though it is a long game. At least for me, it never really gets boring. I'm sure some people would find it really boring after, like, the second level. But I have so much nostalgia for this game that I really, honestly, have a hard time getting frustrated with it or getting angry with it. Well, that's weird. I honestly have never seen this happen before. You think I would have, with all the number of times I played this game. You'd think I would have knocked that Kasplat onto that open grate before, but nope. First time. First time for everything, I suppose. Alright, so we got all Lanky's bananas here. Here it is. There's a Lanky area. Like I said, there's an area for almost all the Kongs to do something in this part of in the research development area. And each one is a fun little minigame that actually doesn't have anything to do with bonus barrels. And I honestly wish they'd done more minigames like this elsewhere in the game. We have to play a kid's keyboard that makes notes with belching. Yep, this is a real game. People always, compliment Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie for being so funny and everything like that, but they seem to miss the fact that that kind of humor is in all of Rare's games, except for the licensed games. Obviously, games like GoldenEye couldn't really have it, but that's pretty easy. C, B, C, D, E. Now, I'm not much of a musician. I do know the basics of musical theory. I've dinked and dunked a little around on a guitar, but not all that much. I do know that this wouldn't make a very good song, though. Okay, and then back to C. But yeah, like I was saying, that sort of almost sarcastic, dry sense of humor is in all of Rare's games. It's not just Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. Back to C. B, C, D, E, C, E. Yeah, this is the last one if I remember correctly, because the only key that doesn't get used in this puzzle is F. And no, this puzzle is not randomized. It's always the same sequence every time you play the game. So in theory, you couldn't just memorize this and not even pay attention through most of it, like I didn't. So for that, we need a golden banana. There's also a banana balloon in here. We're going to want to make sure to pop. It's one of those annoying ones that changes speed as it goes. Okay, hold still for a second. Hold still and let me shoot you! So that's Lanky's third golden banana. We only have one left to find for him. We just got his blueprint as well, so that's all good. Let me think. There's something for Chunky in here, I believe, Tiny, and Diddy. So let's just go ahead and finish off this area. Well, you know what? Let's go ahead and finish off this area in the next video. So next time on Donkey Kong 64, we'll finish off the R&D area of Frantic Factory, and then move on to find some more golden bananas with characters like Diddy and Chunky and Tiny, whom we haven't taken out for all that much. Okay, see you guys then.